Coming up on Cards and Collectibles, we check out a Lego room where everything is awesome. And how the internet changed card collecting forever. We all remember playing with Lego as kids, but most of you likely put that aside when moving into adulthood. Today, there are millions of Lego enthusiasts around the world who continue to bring their imagination to life one brick at a time.
My earliest memories of Lego was when I was younger, probably 7 or 8, building Lego, creating my own builds, and it started from childhood. This is my Lego room. Let me show you around. So we have our Ghostbusters HQ here with our Ecto one just below that, and followed by our custom Ghostbusters train station with our Ghostbusters Fighting Slimer. Moving up here, we've got all our Lego modular buildings, also our custom concert stage. And then when we walk around here, we've got our massive Daily Bugle and pop culture area, and my favorite building, the Avengers Tower, which is the tallest building in the city. Then also we have our underground subway with our shops. In this area here, we have our Santa Monica LA vibes. We've got our beach area with our apartments and shopping complex. How I've tried to give my city some sort of structure is thinking about some of the things that I actually want to include in the city. And one of those was an amusement park. So I really try to think of what I would see when I'd go to an amusement park myself and start to include that in the build. We have our roller coaster, we've got our Ferris wheel, carousel, all things that you'd see in your typical amusement park. The first time I lit up Lego was around 2016. I just bought a bunch of light kits. Once you add lights, it just really gives you a sense of realism. Like if you could shrink yourself, you could live in the city. So yeah, just the whole realism of it just really looks good. I've actually made my own little figure of myself in my city. At the moment, he's standing on a pier fishing, which I don't even do, but I tend to move him around depending on where I feel like he should be at that particular time. One of the rarest sets, the Lego Star Wars Death Star, I was able to find someone online that was selling it, and I actually didn't build it for another 3 years after that, and I ended up building it the year that my wife was pregnant, and I smashed it out over a weekend, so I think I sat for 20 hours. My favorite Lego set in the room is my Batwing. I'm a huge Batman fan, and when they released this set, I knew I had to get it and add it into my room. It's one of the focal points of the room when you walk in, and because it's my man cave, the most favorite part about it is I can turn it on with my phone, because I'm Batman. I love creating. I love seeing the awesome things that can be built just by using Lego bricks. You know, sometimes I come down in the room and I just sit, I put music on, and I could be building for hours. Like I don't even look at the time. Next minute I'll check my phone and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. It just takes you away from everyday life. If I charge my hourly rate to do this over, let's say, 13 years of collecting, I would be well and truly a millionaire.
Whether you're looking for singles, boxes, or card accessories, Sports Card World has had you covered for over 30 years. Come in and speak with their knowledgeable team about all things cards and collectibles.
Lego. It's a brand that has spanned numerous generations, spawned reality TV shows, animated movies, and ignited imaginations across the globe for decades. And when it comes to prices, LEGO can certainly hold its own amongst the many other collectible categories, despite typically being a mass-produced product. Would you believe though, one of the most valuable LEGO items is not in fact a full set. It is the 2013 San Diego Comic-Con Spider-Man minifigurine. With only 350 in total being released, these minifigs have an estimated value of around $25,000 each. For more record sales or to see the value of your collectibles, download the 130 Point app today.
Rugby league has long been a cornerstone of Australian sport. As the game's popularity continues to grow, so too does the demand for NRL-themed collectibles, especially trading cards.
Edmund Barton was the first Prime Minister of Australia, and this was his weekender. There's no better place to have my Dan's NRL Cumberland Oval bar than right here. I've got all sorts of game-worn jerseys and jackets from past rugby league legends, collector cans, tons of autographed memorabilia, just everything. Another thing I've been collecting is the rugby league bound volumes. I love the official released bound volumes. Rugby league news only came out in 1920, and I've been trying to collect all the bound volumes to fit in my library there. As much as I love all the rugby league memorabilia, my real passion is the rugby league cards. That was the first thing that I started to collect, and it's my pride and joy. I remember as a kid, I used to give my lunch money to another student who was knocking off his father's footy cards, and I was actually losing weight because I wasn't eating lunch. My mum was getting worried because I was actually getting skinnier and skinnier. What footy cards do, especially the old ones, it takes you back to when you were a child, when you were a young kid, and all the memories you have of collecting those footy cards. The earliest known cards we know are 1910, so they've been around for over 100 years. There is one set in particular that really interests me, from a lolly company back in the day. Right in front of me here, I've got a 1925 Kane Sweets Rugby League card collection. I've only been able to collect a handful of those. I really love the idea that these are not tobacco cards, they're something different. They're found in a packet of lollies. To have a card that's over 100 years old of some very famous players, or they might have played for clubs such as Glebe or University, there's not many footy cards of those teams. We've got some famous names here: Harold Holder, Frank McMillan, Snowy Ladder, all played for Australia. The average collectors would be familiar with Scanlens bubblegum cards. Scanlens bubblegum cards first came out in 1963. There was 18 cards in that set. They've got a beautiful colour background with the player running or an action shot. The 1963 Scanlens are so rare that even a very poor condition card is still going to spend $500 easy. To find a pristine card of Reg Gasnier, you're looking at $4,000. Late 80s, early 90s, rugby league card sets were basically one set of cards for the whole year. And then in 1994, dynamic marketing came in and the sets became something quite different. There were a lot of different chase cards, there were special gold cards, there were even gold cards with signatures on them, which are very rare and hard to get. It just completely revolutionised the collector's market. Managed to complete dynamic marketing in 1994, Series 1 and Series 2, complete master set. It's including all the error cards, promo cards, signature cards, and it's a great feeling. There's over 700 cards in that set. In 2008, 100 years of rugby league in Australia, Select released the Centenary set, which is the pinnacle of rugby league card collecting in Australia. There are a lot of different subsets, but the best thing about this set is the Immortals signature cards. These ones you can't even find anymore, and they retail for around $2,500 per card. Most of them have passed away now. Arthur Beetson, Johnny Raper, Graham Langlands, Reg Gasnier, some of the biggest names in rugby league, and all in one set. It's a fantastic set. Whilst rugby league cards are my passion, one of my prized possessions is the first ever Dally M trophy which was issued, and that was to Percy Knight. And the reason it was issued to him first is because it was a lower ranking Dally M trophy award, and it was issued to Balmain alphabetically, was the first team released as a favourite player. The grandeur of being the first ever Dally M, and to have it in my bar is definitely a talking point. It is one of the most recognised symbols of rugby league. I'm forever grateful. It sits in my bar and in pride and place on the Cumberland Oval Bar.
After the break, Matt shows us some of his own Lego creations and how the internet changed card collecting forever. Which jersey is Arthur Beetson wearing in his 2005 Select Power Legends Signatures card? A. Balmain, B. Easts, C. Redcliffe, D. Australia. Find out after the break. Welcome back. Did you select the right answer? Let's find out. Earlier in the show, Matt took us on a tour of his impressive Lego city. Above ground, it's home to many of Lego's most important sets. But beneath the surface lie some incredible builds, not from an instruction booklet, but instead from his boundless imagination.
Mock building, for anyone that doesn't know, is called my own creation in Lego terms. I saw people doing it and I thought, you know what, I want to give this a try. The two things that I actually really wanted to do once I started figuring out about mock buildings, I needed to do a Batcave and I really wanted to do a Ninja Turtle Lair. That were like my two top builds that I had to do. Under the city, we have our Batcave mock. We've got the bat suit room, we've also got the bat gear and a trophy room where Batman collects all his villains' items. I wanted to have villains breaking into the caves, and then followed by this area here where the Batmobile will be coming through the entrance. I thought, you know what, I'm not just gonna have Lego pieces as a Bat computer, I need to step it up. So I added a little screen, housed it to make it look like a Bat computer. When I'm creating something on my own, I really try to first research on what I'm trying to build so I can try to make it as accurate as possible, so when you look at it, you can relate to it. Oh yeah, I've seen that in the movie. How I place all my mocks in the city, I try to make them fit where they'd make sense. Obviously, Ninja Turtles is a no-brainer. They live under New York City. So we've got the sewer hatch on the city level, which leads you down to the lair. Certain elements I wanted to include in it. I grabbed some inspiration from the 1987 Ninja Turtle cartoon that I grew up watching, and then obviously the 1990 movie that is one of my favourite movies of all time. I wanted to have their rooms where they sleep, and I had to have them colour coordinated. I know Donatello has like a lab, his own little lab, so I've made a lab specific for him. Then a training pad, because Leo and Raph, they're always, you know, going at it, so I had to have a training mat for them. Mikey being the chilled one, I'm like, you know what, I need to have like a table with pizza, and he's got like a little PlayStation control chilling on a couch, and I decided to house a screen in the Lego. It looks like they're actually watching TV. One of my favourite movies is Empire Strikes Back, so I had to do the Battle on Hoth. We've got the Rebel base with all the different rooms. Then we've got our snow speeders flying through to attack the AT-AT. And then I also added a Wampa Cave, another scene from the movie, trying to just capture key elements from the movie that when you look at the build, you're like, oh yeah, oh my God, I remember that. He got stuck in the cave, or yeah, he's climbing up there trying to, like, you know, destroy the AT-ATs. I am a big Fast and Furious fan. Lego released Paul Walker's GTR, which is my favorite car of all time, and then the Dodge Charger. So when I bought those, built them, added lights to them, I was like, all right, I need to start getting all the rest of the cars. There was a couple of custom builds that I found online. I custom lit them up because obviously they all had neons. It was a big thing back in the early 2000s. There's some cards that I want to include in the collection, but Lego don't have the right color piece. So that's when I decided to build and paint one of the R34s in the original Bayside blue that the actual car came out in. It turned out amazing. Like, it looks exactly like you would see in real life. Then I'm like, you know what? I need a garage. I've got to make it look like they're hovering around like Toretto's garage. Got someone welding, so it's sparking, so they're welding the exhaust. A little office where Jesse's sitting there designing the Supra. Anything that I could think of that is supposed to be in a garage, I included. When I create it or when I design it and then I see it being built and put together, it just makes me feel really happy that I can actually come up with something like that and add it into my collection.
Who remembers yo-yos? Yo-yos have been around for centuries, but in the 80s and 90s they made a massive comeback thanks to brands like Coca-Cola. Coke branded yo-yos, made by Russell, became playground status symbols. With tricks like walk the dog and around the world, the yo-yo craze had kids everywhere mastering the spin. I remember having yo-yos back in primary school, and I remember one day we had a group of, I guess, professional yo-yoers came to our school and was trying to show us all our tricks. I wasn't very good at it, but I tried. Head to our socials and tell us what you remember about yo-yos.
There's been many pivotal additions to the hobby in the last century, like autograph cards, parallels, card grading, and more. But nothing has changed the landscape more than the invention of the internet.
Activate.
Our shop being opened in the 90s before the internet, people used to come into the store with a little book or a bit of paper with all their want lists. You know, they have a checklist, the cards they needed for sets. And basically what collectors would do is go from shop to shop or a card show trying to search, because that was the only means you had to try to fill the cards that you needed for your sets. All of a sudden, with eBay cards that you had never seen, all of a sudden they were accessible. You could see what that card looked like, that card that you'd never seen before. So the internet was great for that purpose of collecting. The internet really helped with finding what your cards were worth, because I guess there was the Beckett that we all used to look up card prices, but they were always estimates. With the internet, you would have instant sales of cards, so you could obviously track what cards were selling for, so it was a great tool to price and value cards. I can remember when eBay first started and there was no such thing as PayPal or, you know, bank transfers or anything back then. You had to physically go to your local post office and get a money order. They send it to the US, probably takes 2 or 3 weeks to get there. The seller would get it, cash the money order, then send your item. So like the whole process would take, 6 to 8 weeks. Obviously today it's a lot easier. With collecting today, the internet's just opened up so many more things. Obviously, social media is a big thing. There's lots of Facebook groups where you can buy and trade. That's a really good platform for that sort of thing. Instagram's a good way of showing off your collections. With Instagram, people are starting to share cards and their collections that you never knew were out there. And some of these collections, what you see is absolutely amazing. With buying cards off of, say, Facebook, you're not buying it through like an eBay format where there's lots of fees and everything. Generally, they'll be a little bit cheaper than eBay because they're not paying the fees, so that's a great way of getting cards at a better price.
Oh! Steph Curry.
A live box break, you buy in and you get a spot in a break. So you might have a team, and obviously with, say, NBA, there's 30 teams, so there's 30 different spots. The person breaking the box will unseal all the packets live on camera. At the end of the break, obviously, if you had, say, the Los Angeles Lakers, any cards of the Los Angeles Lakers are yours, and so forth with all the other teams.
Oh my God, it's LeBron, is it? Oh my God, it's LeBron James. 1 of 1. Wow.
It's a good way, especially with really high-end products, it's a good way of buying into products that you probably wouldn't go and buy a pack or a box of, but this way it gives you a shot at hitting some great cards.
And there it is. The Zion logo, man.
You spend maybe $25 or $50, $100 to go into a break, and you may or may not hit a card. So you may spend $100 in a break and not hit anything. It's like playing at the casino. You're not always going to get something back for your money.
Ja Morant.
The demand for breaks and the demand for product has really increased prices of product because there's just such a demand for it. That's probably one of the downsides of breaking being so popular, is for the general collector to walk in and buy a box or a pack of cards, it has become a bit more expensive. One of the big things with buying cards from overseas was the cost of postage. There's been some companies, and one in particular, Ship My Cards, where you buy cards in the US and it gets shipped to that US mailing address, and you can sort of hold your cards there and then get one big shipment sent. Something like that has been an absolute blessing for collectors around the world, just making things a lot cheaper to get sent to you. Whilst the internet has made it simple to buy pretty much any card they want instantly, nothing beats catching up with like-minded people and trading in person at your local card shop.